So thank you for coming to the presentation, everyone. Today we have a fun one. So this is going to be primarily focused on programming with BrainFrame's REST API, and specifically the Python wrapper around the REST API. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit about the relevant architecture, and then I'm going to do 3 demos. So the first one is I'll program just a couple basic features with the REST API. I'll show you how to create a new video stream through the REST API. And then the second one is I will make a small application that uses BrainFrame to find cats in pictures in a directory. So we're going to process images in a directory and try to find an object inside of a picture, inside of a lot of pictures in a directory. And then the third thing is we will integrate with WeChat and send a notification to my WeChat when I leave my desk, right? So that my boss can know that I have stopped working. So let's get started. So a little bit about the architecture. I think Yi was explaining a little bit about this, but essentially what we're going to work with here is the REST API side of things. And this is the main area where developers will make applications. So in the future, we'll cover how to make vision capsules. And so essentially the difference is when you work with the REST API, you're trying to control BrainFrame and get information from BrainFrame. And so that can be useful for integrating BrainFrame into another service. But when you work with vision capsule code, you are trying to detect something new in video. So you might use the REST API when you are integrating BrainFrame into an existing video analytics system, and you want to push new information into like an alarm system, for example. And you might want to write your own vision capsule if you need to detect, let's say, fire inside of an image. And so you need to get that information directly from the video. So today we're working with the REST API service mainly. And so the first demo I'm going to walk you through how to create video streams through the REST API. And so we're going to use 3 APIs mainly. We're going to use the get stream configurations API. We're going to use set stream configurations API. And we're going to tell BrainFrame to start analyzing that video. So if there's any questions in the chat, E, if you could tell me, and I'll be happy to stop and answer them. So let's get started. So I'm starting out with a BrainFrame server that's already running. So I've got the client here. I don't have any videos yet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up the Python API. So the first thing we need to do is we need to download the Python API. So you can go to our downloads page and click here to download it. And so this is a Python library, but it's a library that wraps around our REST API. And so everything we do today is also doable directly through normal REST API means and is documented in our REST API documentation. So as I go today and I show you how to use this library, I'll show you which APIs I'm using on here, and I can show you kind of how they work. It's just easier to program through Python because we have an existing library for doing this. So so I've got this directory here, and I've got the server already running and nothing else. I have a client here. And so what I'm going to do is copy over the Python API. So this is what you can download from our website. And inside of here, there's an example script, and then there's all of the source code for the API. And so this is helpful if you need to know how to implement a REST API wrapper. And you can look at this as a reference for how we do it for our client. So the first thing to do is we need to install this in our virtual environment. So I'm going to be using virtual environments for this demo. So essentially to keep my Python environment clear. One moment, let me get this out of the way. So the first thing we need to do is we need to install this library. So we use pip, so pip install -e dot. So what this means is we're going to install this package, and we're going to install it from this directory. And so that'll pull any dependencies, and we'll be able to use the API. So now if I run Python, I can import BrainFrame. Right. So let me get this to a larger window here so that you can see more clearly what I'm doing. So most of the work I do today, I'll be doing inside of this IDE. So let's get started here. So I'm going to create a small script that can create a video file here for us. So I've created a little Python file here, and I'm going to import BrainFrame. So this is the library that we just installed, but the object we're mainly going to work with is the API object. So really, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do from BrainFrame import client API import API, and so not to skip around too much here. One moment, let me get my notes up. Great. So the first thing you need to do when you're running BrainFrame is you need to set the URL. So api.set URL. And so this is going to be the same URL as your client, right? So if you're connected to your client, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Great. So as I was saying, to use this library and any REST API, you need to know the URL that you're contacting. So you just put the URL here. If it's local or if it's remote, it doesn't matter. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to ask BrainFrame some questions. So you can see here all the different APIs we have access to. There's quite a few. In this case, I just want to get whatever configurations BrainFrame already has. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. So I'm just going to run this right now. And you'll see here that, there we go, that there's no streams loaded, right? So that matches what we would expect. So in this script, I want to create a stream if it doesn't already exist. So in this case, we're going to create a, actually, yeah, we'll just create it here. So we're going to specify a IP camera that I have in my room. So our API library here has a set of codecs. So these are just wrappers around different data structures. So this helps us figure out exactly what kind of information goes into an endpoint. So what I'm going to be using is I'm going to do api.set stream configuration. And so we can go here and see that it requires a stream configuration. And we can check out the codec for that. And I'm trying to find that. And so we need to create a stream configuration codec and feed it in here. So I'm going to gloss over the details here a little bit, but I'll import codecs. So we need to fill in some information here. So we need to create the name of the stream. So I'm going to call this Alex's seminar stream. We need to create the connection type. So you can have several different connection types. So you can have an IP camera, a file, or a webcam. So in this case, this is going to be an IP camera. And then you can have different connection options. So for an IP camera, we have to specify the URL. So I'm going to paste in the URL here. And so in this case, I'm just specifying an RTSP URL. Yeah, great. And then there's all kinds of other options, but we're going to leave them empty because we don't actually need these features. And then there we go. So I've created this data structure, and I can print it out here. But I haven't actually sent the stream in. So here we can see this is going to be, it's going to be a stream called Alex's seminar stream with a type of IP camera and with this URL. This makes sense. So now what we need to do is we need to actually set that stream. We need to tell BrainFrame about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do API.set stream configuration, and we're going to pass it the new stream configuration. And what BrainFrame will do is it's going to receive this data structure and create it, and we should see it on the client. And then we're going to, it's going to send us back the data structure with an ID. So I'm just going to receive it back from the server. And then what I'm going to do is this BrainFrame will receive the stream, but it won't start analyzing it. So it won't actually start streaming it until you tell it to start analyzing it. So you just have to remember to do start analyzing and then new stream configuration.id. So I've done a lot here, but really what this does is we get the existing stream configurations, we create a new stream with the information that we want, and then we tell BrainFrame about that stream, and then we tell BrainFrame to start analyzing that stream. So I'm going to run this now, and I'll print. Great. Great. And you can see I ran that script, and now this stream has appeared here. Hello, everybody. So this is sort of just the very basic start of how to do this.